Welcome to tonight's episode of Morbid Storytime. In this episode, you will learn about a Memphis wrestler who died at the hands of a dentist. Yes, there was a man named Big Jim Klinkstock. He was a wrestler in the Memphis area. Big Jim was 6'4", weighed 245 pounds, and was part Cherokee. And he billed himself as such in the wrestling circuit. Now Jim, he fought a lot of the toughest wrestlers during that time, and he was a very tough man. In 1934, Jim was 32 years old, and his career was really taking off. Now there was another man that lived in Memphis named Mr. Leo Kahn. Leo Kahn was a business owner. He owned Leo Kahn Furniture, which was on South Main Street in Memphis. Now, Jim had bought a stove from Leo for $45. He paid $5 down and was supposed to make payments on it each week. But Jim hadn't made any more payments. So Mr. Kahn called up Jim's wife, and he made a derogatory comment towards her. He insulted her. And she told her husband, so he says, okay, he said, we're going to go down to where Mr. Kahn is, which was at a hotel there at the time. And he went to the hotel and he called him, and Mr. Kahn said, yeah, I want to see you, Big Jim. I'm coming down. So when he came down, he asked him, why aren't you paying your bill? Well, Jim said, I've got a wrestling match coming up, and I promise I'm going to pay it after that. So they start walking to the street. Well, Mr. Kahn appears angry, and he keeps hounding Jim about this money. Where's the money? He said, I told you I will pay you later. Well, he starts to cuss Jim. Okay. Now, there is an old saying that says, only a fool fights, but it's an even bigger fool who doesn't know how to fight. And the next thing that happens is, as he's cussing Jim, Jim's walking away, he insults Big Jim's wife. Well, when this happens, he just turns around and he sees red. And he says, you rich, gold-plated piece of garbage. And then just, pow, he just backhands him right there. Well, does this stop Mr. Kahn? No. He insults Jim's wife again. So at this point, Big Jim is just going crazy. He's angry. He just starts punching and kicking Mr. Kahn. He's giving him a Memphis-style beat down, just beating him down right there. Well, on one of the strikes, Leo Kahn falls backwards and he hits his head on a car door. And let me tell you, these things were solid back then. He hit his head, and an officer sees what's going on and comes up and pulls a revolver on Big Jim, and that's the only way he can get him to stop. So he's arrested, and he's taken to the police station, and they want to get his picture, and he says, no, I'm not letting you take my mugshot. I've never been photographed with my clothes on before. So they allow him to take his shirt off, and then they take a photo, a mugshot of Big Jim. But meanwhile, back at the hospital, Leo Kahn dies from the injuries. So Big Jim's brought up on charges of murder. And when this goes to court, he actually gets a charge of manslaughter because he didn't mean to. And in court, Jim said, nobody is more sorry about this than I am. I am truly sorry this happened. I did not mean to kill this guy. And he gets no more than 8 years in prison was his sentence. Well, Jim serves a little over a year in the Tennessee State Prison, and then he's let out. He goes back to wrestling again. Okay. Well, on January the 29th, 1944, Big Jim is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he and his wife go to the dentist. He's got a dentist appointment there. He's having some problem with one of his teeth, and his wife is waiting in the waiting room out front, and she hears a commotion in the back, a lot of noise, things breaking, turning over. She's wondering, well, what's going on here? So she goes to the back, and there she sees Big Jim on the floor on his knees, slumped over. And there's a dentist there, and this dentist's name is Dr. Henry Parker. And Dr. Parker has a towel wrapped around Jim's neck from behind, and he's choking him with his towel, and Jim's bent over, his face is purple, he's not responding. Okay, so they get some medical attention there. Big Jim dies at the hospital. So it said that Dr. Parker and his assistant Lee Sykes killed him by strangulation. Well, Dr. Parker claims that Big Jim got to the back, and for some reason he got unruly. He started cursing, he started kicking at the nurses, and to control him, the only way he could control him was to put this towel around from behind and try to bring him down. Okay, well, these guys are facing a manslaughter charge, but an autopsy is done, and it determines that during this ordeal, Big Jim actually died of a heart attack. So it was determined that he had a bad heart, and this is what caused it. So both men were let go from these charges. And I guess the moral of this story is always be nice to your dentist, because they have feelings too.